The fairy Pitta truly is the summer visitor to Taiwan. It belongs to the Pittidae family of the Passeriformes. This bird is marked by an outstanding array of colors. It flits about in the forest from branch to branch like a tiny fairy in a dazzling display that is sure to attract the admiration of people. The wings of the Pitta are resplendently colored. However, its disposition is to frequently conceal itself perched on the dense forest floor. Thus, there is very little sighting records. The Pitta is scattered essentially throughout Borneo, southern mainland China, and Indochina. Their breeding grounds encompass Japan, South Korea, and southeastern China, and also extend to Taiwan. Taiwan is located in Asia, along the Pacific Rim archipelago. The climate is wet and warm, and the interior terrain boasts towering mountainous regions, abundant with lush woodlands. Taiwan's bird species are considerably numerous and is divided in 3 classes: residents, migratory birds, and transitory birds. Passeriformes, such as the Formosan Chinese bulbul and the red turtle dove, belonging to the residents, can be seen year-round here in Taiwan. Transitory birds usually have 2 movements a year. In the spring, they fly back north, and in the autumn, they fly south, passing by Taiwan for a brief rest. Transitory birds common to Taiwan are the gray-faced buzzard, or more commonly called the Nanloing eagle, and the gray froghawk. Taiwan is their midway resting station. Migratory birds, however, are in Taiwan for only a short period to rest. Depending on the season, these birds are considered to be winter visitors and summer visitors. The black-faced spoonbill, the shoveler duck, the pintail duck, as well as various wild geese are Taiwan's most famous winter visitors. The fairy Pitta most fittingly represents Taiwan's summer visitor. Every year, in late March or early April, the Pitta arrives in Taiwan in large numbers. Its tracks can be seen everywhere in the mountains of Taiwan. At present, the flocks are considerably large, with Yunlin County and the Hubei area recording fairly stable numbers. The call of the male Pitta penetrates the forest and far-off places. The purpose of his cry is to both attract the female and to warn other males in the area not to intrude in his territory. The call of the Pitta concentrates during the mating season. In Taiwan, it is during this short period of time, lasting only from late April to early May, the gentle call of the Pitta is easiest heard echoing in the mountain gorges. Sometimes as far away as a mile, their peculiar call is still heard. Taiwan has rich, fertile soil in the lower mountain elevations. In the mountain forest, insects are abundant, reproducing in large numbers. This is the most perfect environment to fulfill the Pitta's disposition to conceal itself. The Malayan night heron and the emerald dove are close neighbors of the Pitta and often inhabit the same areas. They, like the Pitta, like to perch in the dark, mysterious forests. The emerald doves are vegetarians. In the underbrush, they peck for fruit and seeds. However, its favorite meal is the juicy, bright red fruit of the giant elephant ear. A Malayan night heron holds its breath to concentrate its attention on the forest floor. Because of its keen eyesight, it is able to peck and uncover earthworms. The Pitta also frequently pecks for earthworms, but accomplishes it in a different manner. The Pitta digs and rummages in the shallow layers of the soil to uncover earthworms. It eats other similar types of insects, and even is known to eat small snakes and lizards. Shrews and other small rodents will often encounter the Pitta. Unlucky for them, they can also appear on the menu of the Pitta's young. In times of little rainfall, when the ground is dry and hard, the insect and earthworm populations will diminish. This will threaten the Pitta's survival and indirectly influence its breeding success. The song of the Pitta announces the arrival of the breeding season. The mountain palm grows near small streams. In the crown of the mountain palm, the emerald dove will pile small branches and twigs to make a loosely fashioned nest. The coloring along the back and breast of the emerald dove blends from brown to a brilliant green along its wings. This is no coincidence, as when it is nesting, the coloring of its body as a whole matches the coloring of the mountain palm. In the tops of the oriental trima tree, the Malayan night heron uses dry, fine twigs to build nests in a tree with loose, sparse leaves. The Pitta often selects the dark, moist slopes of mountain ravines to build nests. It utilizes mountain palm fibers, bamboo leaves, twigs, and small branches to build its nest. The nest resembles a sphere with a small round opening on one side. It builds its nest in the shelter formed by the crevices made by tree roots and cracks of rocks. The nest itself is considerably compact. The Pitta lines the nest with cushion-like mosses, plant fibers, and other comparatively soft materials. The Pitta occasionally will build nests in comparatively high places, such as the cover provided by the tops of tree trunks. The location of the nest is entirely concealed because the Pitta will use materials from the surrounding area that completely match in color. If one is not carefully observing the nest, it is very difficult to discover. The top of the Pitta's head is light brown, and the middle suddenly has a deep brown vertical line. This makes for excellent camouflage. When it is nesting over the eggs, at first glance, its head looks as if there is a leaf at the opening of the nest. A pair of Pittas can lay as many as 5 eggs. The male and the female equally share the toilsome labor of hatching the eggs by taking turns. The eggs hatch approximately 2 weeks later. After the fledglings break their shells and emerge, the parents promptly eat the shell to avoid any lingering odors, and then hunt for food. Both parents cooperate caring for the hatchlings, which, like tiny infants, have to be spoon-fed. The young of the Pitta by nature are altricial. 3 to 4 days after hatching, the tiny birds struggle to open their eyes. During this short period, the parents must remain in the nest to maintain the proper nest temperature and at the same time protect the young. Little by little, the hatchlings grow, and gradually their appetite increases. Naturally, the frequency of feeding also increases, making the parents even busier. While raising their young, the Pitta will hunt until it has large mouthfuls, usually 3 to 6 worms, before returning to the nest to feed them. The Pitta is prudently cautious, no matter if building nests, hatching eggs, or raising the young. Normally, when the parents return from the open with food, they will first perch high in a tree or on rocks near the nest. But this female perches on a dry fallen log and waits until it feels it is safe to return. It then still takes a circuitous path to the nest and quietly feeds her young. If the parents find the droppings of the young in the nest, they carefully pick them up. When the fledglings are very small, they are unable to fully digest food. Then the parents will eat their partially digested feces. As their young grow, they gradually are able to fully utilize the nutrition of the food. Then the parents are able to pick up the droppings and carry them far away to dispose of them. They do this to avoid odors that could attract predators. In the same area, the emerald dove will also make their nests, but the feces of their young will directly drop into the stream below the nest, naturally flushing them away. The bigger-bodied Malayan night heron builds its nest in higher locations, where there is relatively little threat from predators. When its young needs to excrete, it just shoots it over the side of the nest. May and June is the Pitta's peak breeding period. It also coincides with Taiwan's summer monsoon season, which is characterized by gusty winds and frequent sudden storms. The water level of the mountain streams also will rapidly and suddenly rise, and often the banks of the streams erode severely. If the rain doesn't stop in a timely manner, then the nests nearby the streams could flood, or even wash away in mudslides. Often in the afternoon, there are thunderstorms accompanied by a sudden drop in the temperature. During these times, the young Pitta needs larger quantities of food to increase their capacity to withstand cooler weather. Therefore, even in this inclement weather, the parents must increase their efforts to find food for their young. Besides the problems the natural elements cause, there are other dangers. The Pitta also has natural enemies, the most important being the crested goshawk, snakes, and ants. The crested goshawk often will perch in a location on edges of the thick forest where it can watch all sides for signs of movement. Because of its keen eyesight and superior and agile flying skills, it is the most formidable enemy of the small birds of the forest. Constantly searching for prey and poised to ambush, the goshawk can easily detect the pitta because of its frequent trips to and from the nest to feed its young. Once attracted by the goshawk, it usually cannot escape the goshawk's grasp because the pitta's flying skills are not as quick and nimble as the goshawk. Ants will build nests in the same area as the pitta and is one of its most troublesome natural enemies. A colony of ants can raid the nest of the pitta and attack the newly hatched young. If the parents aren't there to take care of the young, then the ants will dismember and kill their young. After 2 weeks of constant care, the young grow little by little. When the small bird's wings are fully feathered, the parents force them to leave the nest. To encourage its young to begin to fly, the parents perch just outside the nest with food dangling from its beak to entice the young to come out. When the first small bird can no longer withstand the temptation of the food, it plucks up the courage to fly towards its mother. The first time this little bird tries to fly, its flying skills seem quite clumsy. After it lands, the parent will fly to its side to encourage it with a little food. After each of the small young successfully fly, the parent then takes them to relatively dark and safe places to hide. Owing to the young birds' bodies are already simply and naturally camouflaged, they are not easily detected by predators. The young, silent and motionless, wait under a bush while the mother continuously brings them food. After passing through a short period of vigorous growth and practice flying, the young themselves start to catch food. The fairy pitta, like other rare and endangered species, is on the risk of extinction. They face the greatest threat to its survival, that is, its habitat is slowly vanishing. Man has already developed the majority of its habitat in the lower mountain elevations. The pitta's breeding grounds near mountain streams are currently being excavated for gravel. This is a very critical and dangerous situation that threatens the very survival of the pitta. Much of the lower mountain regions have been developed for agriculture. Pesticide is perhaps the main reason that the pitta has become so rare. Worms and insects that the pitta catches have been contaminated with agricultural pesticides. This in turn poisons the pitta. Not only can the pesticide kill the pitta, but also can affect their breeding success. The pitta has already been placed as a rare and endangered animal in Taiwan and is also protected internationally. In June of 2001, BirdLife International placed the fairy pitta on its most endangered species roster. If international bird conservation groups focus their attention on the plight of the pitta, only then can the pitta peacefully continue to flourish in Taiwan. Presently in Taiwan, several conservation groups are spontaneously cropping up, such as the Yunlin Huben Community Development Association. All over Taiwan, these bird societies are synchronizing their efforts to investigate and measure the breeding success rates and the concentrations of the populations of the pitta. These spontaneous birding groups are distinguished models of participation in world endangered wildlife conservation work. Of course, this includes central government departments, which are environmentally sensitive and continue to support the protection of the pitta. Regarding the future of the support of conservation work, it has a clear and definite direction. As autumn approaches once again, so begins the migratory season, with its long-distance journeys back to native lands. Both the young and old pittas, too, will take flight and make their great migration. After all, no one knows just how many birds will reach the winter lands, and no one knows what dangers they may face on the way. Our only hope is that the clear and bright song of the pitta will again be heard echoing throughout the mountain gorges.